evening, everybody, and today's announcement is this year's charity recipients of Scientology's £50,000 IES donation have been revealed, and on the list are two national charities, one of which has the patron of His Majesty King Charles III himself. And I'm here to talk to you about why that's a problem. I did indeed contact these charities for comment. I'm going to read their statements to you. But first, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We have Petrie Nar in the house. Hi, Alex and team. Here we are again. SP Crusader, the wonderful moderator. Thank you so much for joining, Leanie. Becky, Big Brother fan, is here. Thank you so much for your donation on Buy Me a Coffee recently. Petrie Nar also saying hi to Becky. Good to see some familiar faces in the house. And of course, Leanie here, reminding everybody to hit the like button, to subscribe, and if you want to support the channel, you can become a member. You can also support the channel by donating through Buy Me a Coffee with the link in the description. We're currently fundraising for some fun things for this year's protest. Now, a little bit of context for those of you who are perhaps new to the channel or have no idea what I'm talking about. The IAS is the International Association of Scientologists. It's Scientology's official membership body, and every year they have an annual gathering at St Hill, Scientology's UK headquarters, down in East Grinstead in Sussex. Scientology claim that between 6,000 and 10,000 people attend this thing. However, it's very clear that less than 3,000 people generally attend. Scientology claims to be the fastest growing religion on planet Earth. In fact, they claim to have hundreds of thousands of members in the UK alone, and yet they can only manage to scrape together just a couple of thousand people for this event. This year's event is taking place on the 31st of October, Halloween, and we will be protesting. We have a strong message of compassion and support. As former members like myself, we will be getting together and sending a message that it's time for abuse in Scientology to end. If you want to join us, the information is at iasprotest.com. Again, I'll put the link to that in the description. But let's get on to today's article. This is published on my blog, ScientologyBusiness.com. We're going to read through it so you can see what is being said here. The headline is UK charities turn blind eye to Scientology abuse and fraud for £50,000 IAS checks. The Royal National Lifeboat Institution and Age UK are among the charities set to receive £50,000 donations from the Church of Scientology at this year's annual gathering at their UK headquarters near East Grinstead in Sussex. The event is set to take place on the weekend of October 31st and marks the 41st anniversary of the 41st anniversary of the founding of the IAS, Scientology's official membership body, culminating in a charity concert on Sunday, the 2nd of November. The controversial church regularly donates money to charities in order to curry favour and distract local residents from the horrific stories of abuse told by former members who have since left the organisation. This year's chosen charities are the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, the RNLI, Age UK, East Grinstead and District, East Grinstead Town Football Club, East Grinstead Cricket Club, and Friends of Crowborough Hospital. The football and cricket clubs, which are local to Scientology's headquarters at St Hill, have recently written letters of support for the major redevelopment of the St Hill compound in order to better facilities for future events. Despite backlash from residents and concerns from the town council about the overdevelopment of countryside designated as an area of outstanding natural beauty. For those of you who are new to the channel, hold on, where are we? Let's go back to me for a second. Those of you new to the channel, Scientology have submitted a planning application for this huge 600 car parking space car park at their St Hill compound. They are applying for permission for 2 new toilet blocks, a substation, and this concrete pad infrastructure for this large tent. Now, Scientology's property is large in the UK, but they don't have a venue big enough to host such a large-scale event. So every year they put up this temporary marquee on the grounds of St Hill to host this event. It causes a lot of backlash among local residents who complain about the traffic issues that are generated by the event. This venue is simply not suitable to host this event. East Grinstead Town Council also raised concerns about the overdevelopment of the countryside, and they suggested that the planning application is rejected. Now, the final decision will be made by Mid Sussex District Council in due course, and this is not stopping them from going ahead with this year's event, but it is important context to understand. Scientology are holding this event in an illegal structure. It is a marquee that they have erected without permission in order to host this event. Let's carry on here. Historically, the Mayor of East Grinstead has attended the charity concert to present the charities with their cheques. However, when asked by Scientology Business whether he will be in attendance this year, we did not receive a response. The RNLI, which was founded in 1824 and provides lifeboat and sea rescue services across the UK, is understood to have received Scientology cheques on several occasions in the past. Former community fundraising manager Peter Tarrant, who now works for Help for Heroes, was pictured on stage alongside RNLI's volunteers accepting a cheque at the event in 2012. And here is the picture of the RNLI taking money from Scientology just over a decade ago. The Church of Scientology was found guilty of fraud in France in 1978, with founder L. Ron Hubbard being convicted in absentia. In 1984, High Court Judge Lord Justice Leahy ruled the organisation is sinister, dangerous and harmful, and is out to capture people, especially children and impressionable young people. 15 years later, the UK Charity Commission rejected Scientology's application for charity status on the basis it does not benefit the public, a view that was reaffirmed in a statement just 2 years ago in 2023. A number of former members have since spoken out against Scientology's fundraising techniques, describing how parishioners are pressured into making large donations despite being in financial difficulties. In 2019, Chase Bank blocked transactions involving Scientology after it uncovered a scheme whereby church representatives were assisting its members in fraudulently applying for multiple credit cards in order to donate to the church's activities. Reporting on the Chase Wave, as it became known, journalist Tony Ortega explained in an article published last year on the Underground Bunker, it was common for the fundraiser to do all the research on which cards are best for the person and then sign up for several cards all at once. The new card would not get reported to the credit agency until the end of the day, and so different banks would each approve the public for credit without taking into account the new credit just issued by another bank. Chase would actually approve 3 different credit cards on the same day, and someone had the idea to merge the credit cards to have one card with a limit 3 times higher than it should have been. In 2017, Queen Victoria Hospital in East Grinstead came under fire for accepting a cheque from Scientology, with ex-Liberal Democrat health spokesperson Norman Lamb MP telling the BBC it is completely inappropriate for an NHS trust to accept funds from this organisation. Now, I just want to pause here for a moment and say my issue is not with people donating money to charity. The RNLI, Age UK, the cricket club, the football club, these are community organisations that genuinely help people. And I have no objection to donating money to these organisations. I'm not suggesting people shouldn't donate to these organisations. My problem is with these organizations accepting money from the Church of Scientology specifically. The Church of Scientology, as I just mentioned, was rejected charity status by the Charity Commission in 1999 because it doesn't benefit the public. It engages in mass fraud, harassment of its critics, and there are numerous stories of abuse of varying levels that are plaguing the church throughout the world. My problem is if Scientology genuinely cared about people and humanity and the community, why don't they just spend this money helping the community themselves? Perhaps that would actually help them in their bid for gaining charity status in the UK, because then they could prove a public benefit. Instead, they're choosing to donate this money to already registered charities, all in the guise of being able to say, look, we help local charities and therefore you should support us and allow us to carry on existing. If they genuinely cared and they genuinely wanted to help, they could use this money themselves to help these people. A lot of churches in the UK, and indeed the world, spend money running soup kitchens, homeless shelters, providing aid and assistance to people in need. Scientology don't do that. Scientology raise money from its parishioners, keeps it themselves, and then donates a small portion to a registered charity. The reason they do this is covered by a policy called safe pointing. Scientology want to curry favor with local officials, they want to be seen as a legitimate religious organization, and so by aligning themselves with legitimate real charities that do real work, people then look a little bit more favorably towards Scientology, completely neglecting the fact that if they actually wanted to help these people, they could just do it. They don't need to donate to these charities. This problem is one of these charities putting profit over people or money over people. Obviously, these charities are going to be spending this money, they're not keeping it for themselves. But my criticism very much is of Scientology not using the money themselves to help these people, and of these charities believing it's acceptable to take money from Scientology. Let's carry on with this article. A spokesperson for the RNLI told Scientology Business, as a life-saving charity, the RNLI has a robust donations acceptance policy which ensures donations are appropriately assessed before being accepted or declined. This policy is aligned with the fundraising regulator's guidance. The decision to accept this donation was made after all relevant due diligence was carried out, including the use of our donation acceptance policy. The RNLI's donation acceptance policy states that donations can only be declined for two reasons: that it would be unlawful to accept the donation, or that accepting the donation would be detrimental to the achievement of the purposes of the organisation. Everyone at the RNLI remains focused on our core purpose of saving lives at sea. Now, I, of course, dug a little bit deeper, and here is the donations policy, acceptance policy that the RNLI go off. Let me share my screen here. This is the most recent policy that the RNLI have adopted. As you can see here, it was last updated in March of last year, and it will be reviewed in July 2025. I'm guessing that that has now happened, but this is the most recent one I could find on their website. It talks here about why they need a policy on accepting donations and so on. It affects anybody who's donating or accepting donations, blah, blah, blah. It says here, grounds for refusing a donation. A, that it would be unlawful. For example, the organisation knows that the gift comprises the proceeds of crime. Or B, that accepting the donation would be detrimental. That's the quote that we just read. Now, where it starts to get interesting is if you scroll down a little bit, it actually gives you an example of an instance in which it would be not acceptable to receive a donation. And let me just read this to you. Some examples of behaviour, conduct, operations conflicting with the RNLI's constitution to save lives at sea, its values, and any formal partner agreements: a high-profile individual or company with a poor public reputation due to their business practices or personal conduct which have led to convictions, sanctions, substantial negative media coverage, particularly in relation to health and safety and environmental damage. Now, that's why I wanted to bring this particular policy up, because Scientology's event is taking place in an unauthorized structure that does very clear damage to an area of outstanding natural beauty, and they have a very well-publicized reputation for committing heinous crimes of fraud and abuse. So how on earth the RNLI think it would be appropriate to accept a donation from Scientology? I do not know, and this is why I have a problem with it. Let's carry on with this article. However, the RNLI's donation acceptance policy explicitly lists, that's basically what I just explained, all donations in excess of £10,000 are reviewed by a dedicated major gift team before the decision is made on whether to accept any money, and decisions on high risk and high value cases are made by the charity's trustees. Age UK, which provides advice and friendship services for the elderly, has also been announced as one of this year's recipients, despite multiple reports of wide-scale elder abuse taking place throughout the church. In September 2023, former Scientology spokesperson Mike Rinder detailed one such case on his podcast of how 77-year-old Rosemary Chickwak was pressured into securing debts in excess of $160,000 in order to make large donations to the church. With the help of the Aftermath Foundation, she subsequently escaped and was given a refund after threatening legal action. We approached Age UK for comment and was told by a spokesperson that Age UK East Grinstead and District is an independent organisation responsible for our own funding and governance. We are reliant on donations from individuals and organisations to fund our vital charitable work supporting older people in the local area. We review all offers of financial and or partnership support from companies, organisations, and high net worth individuals on a case-by-case basis. The older people of East Grinstead remain our priority, and our focus is on our work supporting them. Despite widespread media coverage and legal rulings confirming widespread abuse, fraud, and neglect are prevalent throughout the Church of Scientology, these charities are seemingly turning a blind eye for the sake of a £50,000 donation. The St Hill Charity Concert is set to take place on Sunday, the 2nd of November, with protests planned outside the gates of the compound by former Scientologists and local residents who are concerned about Scientology's reputation for abuse. Now, you guys tell me, am I barking up the wrong tree here? Is this something that I just have a bee in my bonnet about unnecessarily? Personally, I think it is outrageous that these charities are finding excuses to accept Scientology's money, especially when they have now been confronted with the truth about how this money is obtained, extorted, and from its members in high pressure environments. As a Scientologist, you are put under a lot of pressure to donate money to the church. And yes, it's a good thing that money is going to charity. But I have a real problem that these charities now know the nature of Scientology's behaviors and the abuse that is prevalent throughout the organization. And they've still decided to accept the money. Especially when you do a bit more research, which I didn't cover in the article because I found it since publishing. Take a look at this headline. This is from January 2024. RNLI donation rejects donation from New Year's Eve fundraiser. The RNLI has rejected a donation from a fox hunt fundraiser in Ireland that had planned a New Year's Eve event. The Dungarvan Foxhound Supporters Club aimed to hold a bucket collection boosted by a cap donation from the club, but the charity told the club it would not accept a donation. A spokesman for the RNLI said the RNLI was approached by a local hunt club in Ireland who wished to hold a bucket collection with fundraising branch volunteers at an upcoming live fox hunt. This request was considered by the RNLI and declined. As a charity that saves lives at sea and on inland waters, which operates across both the UK and Ireland, the RNLI reserves the right to decline donations. The practice of fox hunting is one that evokes strong feelings in many, including our volunteers and supporters from all sides of the debate. Fox hunting is illegal in many regions of the world where RNLI operates, and while it continues in some areas, the charity has made the decision to decline donations associated with the activity and therefore remove the ask on volunteers who may not wish to support a fundraising request of this nature. We gratefully support that we are grateful for the support that our communities give to our lifesavers, blah blah blah. Now, this is why this is so hypocritical. The RNLI will turn down donations from a fox hunting group based on ethical concerns, but they're more than happy to take money from the most controversial so-called religious organization on planet Earth, to which hundreds of former members have spoken about the abuse and the malpractice, the neglect and the fraud that goes on inside this organization. And one that is and an event that is taking place in an illegal structure that does not have planning permission. Why does the RNLI think it's okay to take Scientology's money, but not a small donation from a local fox hunting group? Now, I don't want to turn this into a debate about fox hunting. All I'm saying here is we have a multi-billion-dollar organization that is well known for its abuse and malpractice. A double Emmy Award-winning TV series, Scientology, Leah Remini, Scientology in the Aftermath, was produced about the abuse. BBC Panorama have covered it. There are ample news articles about the abuse that goes on inside Scientology. Why are they allowed to donate to the RNLI, but not a small fox hunting group? And the reason that the fox hunting donation was declined was because they're worried it might upset some people. Well, what about the survivors of abuse of Scientology who are so desperately seeking awareness and a greater understanding for what they suffered inside this organization? Especially considering Scientology is not registered as a charity in the UK because it was determined by the government that it doesn't benefit the public. That is why I have an issue with it. And I'm just interested to hear your thoughts on the matter. I think it's outrageous. And if it was me, I would decide to decline the donation if I was in charge of things at the RNLI and Age UK, especially considering the nature of these allegations. They are serious, and I think it's outrageous. Let's look at some of your comments. SP Crusader, Leanie in the house comment, do we need to write to the king again? You know, the king is the patron of the RNLI, so perhaps it would be interesting to know his thoughts on the matter. Andy Engram in the house. Wow, I've caught 2 lives in 1 week. Hello all. Hello, thank you for joining. Danielle in the house with a super sticker. Thank you so much, Danielle. Hippo character falling to the ground in a dramatic way, bursting into tears with the words epic fail in the background. I guess that's the description of the sticker, which for some reason doesn't show up on screen. But thank you for the super sticker, Danielle. Comment, Scientology consider the homeless on the streets as degraded beings. They'll not help them. Exactly. In fact, there is video footage online of Scientologists hosing down homeless people on the streets outside its CCHR exhibition in Los Angeles. If you're somebody who is gay or disabled, or you have some sort of mental disorder or a disability, you are considered a degraded being in Scientology, and you're not worth saving, according to Scientology scripture. How on earth is that seen as compatible with the purposes of Age UK and the RNLI, 2 national charities that do genuinely help people? It honestly baffling. D. Thompson, good morning, Alex and chat, here on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, Australia. Thank you so much for joining. If you look up Scientology in the dictionary, I bet there is nothing but a $sign. They are all about the money. Yes, and as I said, if they genuinely cared, they genuinely wanted to help people, they could use that money to help people, rather than donate it to a charity to try and gain some sort of legitimacy. Satan Staten here saying a clear lack of due diligence. Well, you say that, but I gave the RNLI and Age UK plenty of opportunity to review their decision before they responded. I reached out to them earlier this week asking for a comment before I published this story and gave them an extension. I gave them a deadline and they said, can we have a bit more time? I said, yeah, no problem. So I've held this story back because I was hoping that these charities would review the situation, review the claims that I've made, do a bit of research and decide, actually, perhaps it's not best we take Scientology's money. But instead, I got these statements saying that there's no reason why we shouldn't accept it, which is just even more outrageous, in my opinion. Danielle saying, I'm writing to them both. Yep, I would advise that too. If you are angry, if you've ever supported these charities, I would do the same if it were me. Becky, Big Brother fan, it's so inappropriate that they accept donations from the cult who are so abusive. Precisely. Witness here saying, exactly, Alex, even National Geographic, Nat Geo, has labeled Scientology as a cult, and they have not retracted their opinion because of Scientology pressure. Becky, Big Brother fan, RNLI accepting donations from Scientology who actually overboard members. Yeah, that's another thing. Scientology run a vessel, the Freewinds, on which a practice of overboarding has been widely reported as taking place as a form of punishment for its members that do not conform with the rules. If you are in the sea organization and you are punished, one of the things Hubbard used to do is throw people off the side of the ship, even if the ship was in harbor, and that would result in a dangerous situation. How the RNLI thinks this is appropriate is beyond me. I really don't understand it. But look, guys, that's it from me. I'm outraged. I'm going to continue thinking about the best way forward with this one. Please let me know after the live stream is finished what you think down in the comments. Please consider writing to these charities. Please consider donating to these charities because they need all the money they can get. If you want to stand there with us in protest across the IES weekend, we will be gathering on 31st of October, the Friday, and the Saturday and Sunday, the 1st and 2nd of November, down at St Hill, Scientology's UK headquarters. The website for all the information is iasprotest.com. There's also a link in there if you want to donate towards specific protest things. We want to get a bagpiper, traffic cones, all those sorts of things. I'm currently liaising with Sussex Police and the local council and authority and highways in order to ensure that we remain safe as protesters. We're waiting on the outcome of our request for a permit to march in the road, and I'll update you guys on all of that in due course. But if you want to join us, please check out the website iasprotest.com. And if you want to support my activism and this channel, please use the Buy Me a Coffee or PayPal links in the description. That's it from me for now, guys. I'll see you on the next one.